So it is November 6th, Monday, November 6th. This is show number 178, by the way. I want to welcome you to Let's Talk Native on the LTN Radio Network. This program breaks all the rules for Native radio. No buffalo speeches, no mystic healing, no special Indian prayers. We tackle the real issues facing Native people. We'll look back at our glorious and our grave history. A tough look at where we're at now and a look forward to our ongoing battles for sovereignty and autonomy. Let's Talk Native is produced in association with Iroquois Promotions on the LTN Radio Network, streaming live from the Cattaraugus territory of the Seneca Nation and simulcast and rebroadcast on the Gwe, CKWE in Tandanega. You can find us at www.ltnradionet.com. And, of course, we are streaming live on Facebook. I am John Kane. I am your show's host and producer, and we're joined by Matt Hill in studio running our board today.
How you doing?
All right, we got Jake off off mic and off camera. Jake is proud as the guy running our cameras for not only for the Facebook live stream, but also to take this video and put it on our YouTube channel, Let's Talk Native TV. So I want to thank Jake for being here. I also want to acknowledge our studio engineer, Kelly McMillan, for the fine work she's done with our setup here. Hey, that opening song was Jimmy Wolf, Sometimey Woman. And, of course, I'm pretty excited about Jimmy Wolf coming to the Seneca Niagara Casino, playing at the Bears Den this weekend. And he is playing, let me get at 8 p.m., again, at the Bears Den. And he's playing with Blackfoot. Jimmy's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. He's going to call in, and we'll talk about his upcoming show, some of what he's been doing in general. Jimmy is one of the greats. He is in the Blues Hall of Fame, the New York State Blues Hall of Fame. He's played with some of the greats, and we'll let him fill us in a little bit on not just his career, but kind of what's going on lately. So we'll look forward to Jimmy joining us at the bottom of the hour. I do have a couple of events that I want to promote, and I want to get out there before I kind of get into some of the subject matter I really want to talk about. But first off, this Sunday, of course, Jimmy Wolf is on Saturday. That's Saturday, November 11th. That's Canandaigua Treaty Day, isn't it, Matt?
The 11th.
Enough of that. But anyway, Sunday, November 12th.
Had to go again.
I don't think I'll be there. My friend Melissa Cornick from Fordham University she's hosting a college and career advice seminar for young Native people and people who want to support Native culture and Native peoples. This is taking place at Fordham University essentially from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. But you don't have to go there to be there. I mean, you can go online. It's going to be a web event. So if you register, if you go to gonativefordham.com, that's Fordham with an H in there. So it's gonativefordham, FORDHAM.com. That's where you can register. You got to throw that in there anyway.
I was just thinking, how many? Fordham.
No, not Fordham. 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 Look, this is going to be this is kind of a first time event. This has never really been done like this before, and it's to offer young Native people who may be at that point in their life where they're looking at college or career, and to have an opportunity to meet and engage with people who represent various industries or professions, entertainment, engineering, business, both entrepreneurial business, but also, the gaming industry, law, healthcare, theater, all aspects of theater, not just performance, but directing, media. I'm going to participate with this program, and there's some pretty good names associated with it. And like I said, if you go to that website, gonativefordham.com, you'll see the full list. I've posted the flyers and some of the information on my group pages, both the Let's Talk Native page and the Let's Talk group page, and you'll see some of the folks. Gary Lightfoot Davis of rap star, but also of Indian in the Cupboard fame, if you remember that movie. He's going to do the introduction, and there is going to be a meet and greet with various people who are participating in this thing. At the beginning. So if you go there and you register, if you are in New York, you should go to Fordham School of Law It's in room 150. That's at West 62nd Street. On the Forum campus. And again, you can start. The meet and greet will start at about 10:30 in the morning. Um, they're actually going to start with some of the introductions. Gary's introduction at 11, but the main bulk of this of the career and college and career advice seminar is going to start at noon, and then it'll run again through the entire afternoon. So that this is kind of a new thing. I'm hoping that folks, native people who are in particular who are looking for career advice and college advice, including advice on funding, on how to get funded for school. So this is a good opportunity to learn some things. And it's a Sunday, so you invest a few hours, and you can register anytime during that 4 hours, and participate as long or as little as you like. But again, go to gonativefordham.com, and that's where you can register. And again, this is a lot of fine work that Melissa Cornick, a friend of mine, is putting together for this thing. So I wanted to mention that. Also, I want to mention at the end of the month, on Wednesday, November 29th, I will be a part of screening Rumble, the Indians who rock the world. In fact, maybe we'll do that before I get into it. Why don't we go ahead and play the trailer? If you don't know what Rumble is it's kind of a guitar riff, but the film is about what Native people have done to contribute to essentially contemporary music, all contemporary music, not just rock. But it's got Robbie Robertson, Martin Scorsese is in the film, Stevie Salas, Steven Tyler, Stevie Van Zandt, Buffy St. Marie. There's a lot of Steves.
Some good reviews from what I heard when it aired down in Salamanca.
Yeah, this thing is done done pretty well on the film festival circuit already. It's gotten some accolades from Sundance, and it was put together by Tim Johnson, friend of ours, who from Six Nations, who works at the museum. It was kind of a Smithsonian project, so really an excellent film. We'll go ahead and we'll play the trailer here right now. A couple of minutes long. It'll give you a little bit of a taste, I guess.
There was a song came on the radio, a guitar instrumental, and it changed everything.
Link Ray, it's rock and roll.
Rumble. Yeah, that's the one.
Rumble.
Hey, Rumble.
Rumble had the power to help me say, I'm going to be a musician.
And then I found out that he was an Indian.
The music that we know here in the United States is fully supported by input from Native and Indigenous people.
Mr. Randy Castillo!
Randy had become one of the most influential heavy metal drummers in the world.
This is Jesse Ed Davis.
I just particularly fell in love with Jesse Edwin Davis. He was with Taj Mahal, and Taj's album is what spurred me to rock more.
And here's your rockin' chair lady, Mildred Bailey.
From 16 to 20 years old, that's the only thing I listened to was Mildred Bailey. I just said, I want to learn how to sing like her.
Figuring out that these people were Indians, and then we started to ask ourselves, why didn't anyone else know that?
There was this key expression, be proud you're an Indian, but be careful who you tell.
All of a sudden, I was talking about Native American issues and big-time television. And all of a sudden, everything disappeared.
From Charlie Patton to Link Ray, Robbie Robertson invented the genre. Jimi Hendrix is the best in his field. Jesse Ed Davis, everybody wanted him. Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
This has gone too long under the radar.
All right, yeah, that's the trailer to Rumble, the Indians who rock the world, and I'm gonna be screening that film at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, New York. My friend Cindy Campbell, who she's also a host at WBAI. We'll be doing this thing together out there at CAC, the Cinema Arts Center, and we look forward to a good turnout. This is a lot of the times when I screen a film out in Long Island or in Brooklyn, there are films that have been around that people just aren't aware of. This one's new. This is a happening film right now. So we look forward to doing this. In fact, what I want to do is encourage any musicians who are in the New York area who want to take the trip out to Long Island and maybe crank out, bring your guitar. I mean, we'll set up in the lobby afterwards. We'll do a bit of a meet and greet afterwards. I usually, share a few words on the subject matter associated with the film, and so I'll be part of the host of this thing. And again, that's going to be Wednesday, November 29th at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, New York, out in Long Island. So look forward to that. All right. Now I got to get into it. On October 31st, I got the call early in the morning. In fact, Matt was one of the ones who had called. My friend Degarundege was making the rounds of calls. I still had my ringer turned off from doing the show on Monday night, so I never heard the phone ring. So it took a while for anybody to get a hold of me, and that's when I learned that my friend from many years, somebody that I share some history with that's unique. I mean, with my friend Gagarila Gerdo. And I say that name because that is the name that he carried with him while he was among us. He passed away on October 31st, about 4 o'clock in the morning, out of the blue, a massive heart attack. Nobody knew. He wasn't sick. Nobody really saw it coming. Some of you may know his name was. He was also went by Art Montour. We use words like activist, and I guess that's appropriate. But he was Mohawk, and he was very much involved in warrior society, standing up and defending sovereignty. He's somebody that I worked with as part of the First Nations dialogue team when we were fighting the state on taxes. He was well spoken. He was articulate both in Mohawk and in English. And I, like I said, I had the opportunity to work with Gugwe Lagerdu as this dialogue team, along with Degarundege, Paul Delarone, and Gugwe Lagerdu's son, who most people know as Sugar Montour. Agwirayando is his Mohawk name. And we accomplished some incredible things in pushing back on the state back in this was in the late 90s. But our history goes before that. I was actually on trial in my federal trial coming out of the late 80s at the same time Gugwe Lagerdu was going through his trial. We actually were both in the federal court building at the same time. When our trial would rest, we'd all go into his court into his courtroom, and his trial would rest. They'd come into ours. I actually went and did my time at the same time that Gugwe Lagerdu did. We didn't go together. We went to separate places, but his sentence was a little less than mine. So when he got out, was about the time that I actually got transferred to a facility that he had spent some time in. And so some of the folks who knew him got to know me. I used the same sweat lodge. I was the only Native person in this facility. I used the same sweat lodge that Gugwe Lagerdu had constructed and utilized himself. So just some incredible parallels in our lives. Gugwe Lagerdu was from Ganawage. His wife is Seneca, and they lived in Akwesasne. I find my circumstance, somewhat similar. I'm Mohawk. My wife's Oneida, and we live in Seneca territory. So neither of us lived and raised our families in the communities that we were from. So I mean, there's some interesting parallels, and of course, the work that we've done was very similar, and I learned a lot from him and Degarundege. as they say during our funerals, that we lived all our days. So Kagwelegeru lived all his days. And what we say during that funeral is that now we have to accept that he will no longer be coming through that door. That he gave everything he had to give in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, counsel, all that stuff. And it's on us to use that. But with every time we experience a loss of somebody that has given of themselves, like Gagweleger, like Jacques Wade, like going back farther, folks like Louis Hall. We come to a place where we start to wonder about our effectiveness. Are we getting it done? And the thing is that every one of our friends and our colleagues that we lose through time, because they've lived all their days, we start to do a bit of a gut check on the days that we have left. It's a reminder of our mortality, right? And whether we are using our time effectively. I do a show, 3 shows a week. I do 2 shows here from our LTN studios, and I get to do a show in New York. And a lot of times, I talk about a wide variety of issues. And as much as I feel strongly about talking about language and culture, I sometimes feel like if we don't apply it, then we're still talking about it as if it's the past. If we're going to talk about the Guyana de Goa, what people call the Great Law of Peace, if we're not going to apply it, I mean, even as they do recitals, I had a conversation with my friend Robert, a couple of weeks ago, and this is the foundation for an entire show or an entire series of shows. At some point, we have to realize that to maintain who we are, to really, we talk about identity on the show a lot, Matt. It's a common theme that we talk about.
Yep.
But what is that identity? A friend of mine, Art John, just posted something I wrote a few years ago. I think I don't even know when I wrote it, but I talked about me not being a prayerful person. That I don't pray and I don't worship a God or a creator or all of those things, and part of the reason I did that was because I know that there's people who are not religious that sometimes feel alienated from a longhouse. They feel alienated from people who are more, or claim to be anyway, more spiritual or more religious. And of course, this isn't just about bringing religion into our culture. It's about losing some of our culture to religion. So we have Christians of all denominations who are Native people who kind of abandoned some of their own I don't even want to call them belief systems, but their own culture and their own stories that go with that culture, and now are more in tune with the Bible or whatever the case might be. And my point in saying what I said in that piece that Art had posted was to say that doesn't make me less Native. And in fact, if we think about the words we say in the Ganonyok or the Ohundaguriwadekwa, the opening, the words we say before all else, if we think about those words are all about nature. I mean, we and I don't want to mince words about somebody's definition of spirituality. But that connectiveness, that connectedness that we have with each other as people, and not just Native people, all people, the human race, but also the connection we have with our cousins, the other 2-legged, 4-legged, winged, legless, the fish life, all of that, with the water, with the ground, with the rock, with the mountains, with the trees, all of that stuff. Understanding that relationship. Look, I'm not saying that people can't interpret those relationships as something very spiritual, and I'm not even discouraging that interpretation. But what I'm saying is that even if you look at our relationships with all of creation, just from a very pragmatic, common sense. Yes, we know that we have somewhat of a symbiotic relationship with, obviously, with the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and all of that. It's fine to talk about that stuff, but if you don't acknowledge it in our daily lives now, if we only look at tell the creation story as if it's just a story that we can try to take literally, I guess, but not apply it to what we're doing today. So if we're not going to apply the teachings that those stories embody, or if we're not going to apply the real message that goes with the Thanksgiving festivals that we do, the ceremonies that we do, if we're not going to acknowledge the 4 parts of our ceremonies that we do and why we do it, if we only do it out of a sacrament or out of a ritual, a repetitive ritual, if that's the only reason we do it, then we've lost what the purpose of those festivals were. The idea of giving thanks isn't giving thanks so the Creator will still shine on us with his bright lights and that kind of stuff. The whole idea is to do these things to acknowledge that relationship again. So one of the things that gives me a bit of a gut check is realizing that at the age that I've reached, I'm wondering, did I accomplish as much as I would have liked to? And I don't mean success, dollars and cents, and all that other stuff. I just mean, what I talk about in the beginning, our battle for sovereignty, our battle, in improving our quality of lives, all of ours, not just mine.
Returning parts of our culture that were lost.
And bringing it forward is my whole point. Because
nobody really talks about that much. As far as incorporating it into the now.
Yep.
That's what has to be looked at. I really appreciate all that, the group that we talked about earlier, all those things that I've learned from all of our friends from Akwesasne and all across
Six
the
Nations, all that. Yep,
it's really good when we all get together and we talk about things, but we don't get to that part of we're all learning. I mean, it's good that we're learning all these old things, but we're still not sitting down and talking about how do we get it up to the now.
Well, and there's so many people that ask that question, like our friends at Onondaga. They're saying, how do we fix it?
Yeah.
We know there's things that are broken. And in every one of our communities, we have we don't just have administrative things broken. We have, quality of life issues, drug issues, substance abuse issues, domestic violence issues, all that stuff. Yeah, family issues. I mean, how do we resolve some of those conflicts? And frankly, that's what the Guyana de Goa was supposed to be for.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're treating it as if it's like it's a ceremony or a sacrament or some sort of ancient story that we're going to teach as a part of our history, but not a part of who we are today.
Yep.
And that's where I want to spend more time. I mean, when I talk about, whether I'm talking about the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples or the battle the Senecas are having with the state over gaming revenue, or the throughway, or any of those things, the foundation of those conversations is the fact that we have a right to advance ourselves as people without being oppressed, and that's why I try to educate people about history. I spoke with 8th graders at School 19 in Buffalo today, and tried to emphasize to them that we're still here. To be treated as a history lesson, like this timestamp of when the Confederacy was great, or when before European contact, that serves a purpose. But if we don't figure out how to bring that forward to, and what were the role that we played in not just American history, but in our own evolution or de-evolution, depending on how you want to look at it. I mean, we've lost 95% of our population as Ongwengwe over the last several hundred years. Yet we're still here. And we still have plenty of people who are clinging on to autonomy and distinction. And it's tough because we're inundated with religion. We're inundated with state laws and federal laws and military
just general
conflicts.
Assimilation.
And again, conflicts all over racism. Terrorism. Obviously we've seen some some crazy things happen with crazy white men shooting at people over the last couple of months, and then a guy plowing some people over with a truck in Manhattan last week. I mean, it's this is the world that we live in, even if it's not the world that we created as Ongwe. We still have to figure out how do we continue to not just survive, but how do we separate ourselves from the mess that has been made of much of the world around us.
We need to have a discussion at some point here to talk about the future of how that's going to play out in the future. How do we move it forward, like you say?
Yeah.
Because we got to start putting that spark in the kids' minds. What's your world going to look like when you get of age?
Yeah.
So that's really where we got to start.
Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
It's like I said, I've got grandkids now. I don't have great grandkids yet, but I looked at again my friend Gaguia Gardu's family, the grandkids and the great grandkids. I mean, their family tree is incredible, and of course they're related to so many different people from Seneca territory, and it was good to see a full longhouse come out and support that family. It was good to see that. It was good to see. I will say that there were some territories that that weren't represented there that kind of surprised me. But there was a lot of people from Mohawk territories, or obviously Verna is from here, and so a lot of her family was out. But again, very full longhouse. I mean, it was incredible. The funeral procession actually went where their family land is about 15 miles outside of Akwesasne, and so it was a long line of cars. And our friend Roger Jock hung a beam over the road with Iron Worker on it and nice. Warrior flags. It was pretty incredible to see it. So, but anyway, I mean, I took something away from again having the opportunity to hear the funeral service done in the way especially the way Francis and Lorraine do it.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know him as long as you did, but every time I met him and talked to him, it was like I'd known him forever. He's always interested in what I had to do, and he's a very good guy,
very engaging guy, yeah. And he had a history as an iron worker, which is what my father did. But a complete change of careers after an injury and some political battles, and then he would go on to be one of the guys who was involved in Ganyonge and tax battles and all that stuff. So pretty impressive. Look, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a break. We'll go out with another Jimmy Wolf song, and then I expect Jimmy's probably going to call in here shortly, and he'll join us for a good portion of the rest of the show. But let's go out with another Jimmy Wolf song here, Matt, and we'll look for Jimmy's call here.
I said somebody, Lord, somebody's got to pay.
right, that's some Jimmy Wolf. That's somebody's got to pay, and just some great guitar licks there. Look, as much as I like listening to Jimmy play, to watch him play, to see him play live, and Matt, we got a chance to see him up in Akwesasne when he played at Uelas.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And just he's incredible to watch play, and so you're gonna have an opportunity to see him play up at the Bears Den at the Seneca Niagara Casino this weekend. That's Saturday, November 11th at 8 p.m. He's playing with Blackfoot, and Jimmy's. We're getting him. He's coming online with us right now. Look, one of the other things I want to mention before we go to Jimmy, kind of following my conversation about the funeral this weekend. One of the things that I will say that I was a little bit surprised at how many people are following the program in Mohawk territory, and not just other longhouses, but even some of the guys who are on tribal council and that kind of stuff up there in Akwesasne, and they see what we do with the show, and obviously some of the stuff that I've been writing on in newsprint and that kind of thing, and I gotta say, I was glad to hear it. I was glad to hear that because it's hard to know who's listening. I mean, we can see some people that chime in on Facebook or whatever else, but it's really kind of hard to know. And so when you get that direct feedback and you can talk about some of the issues that they're facing up there and how the parallels are, there was a certain amount of validation that I felt getting. And Matt, I know you got a chance to go up there for harvest, and I didn't, and I had gone up for Gagueru's 75th birthday in June, and then went back for his funeral, and and so you reconnect with the community every time you go up there, every time you go for a ceremony or whether it's a somber occasion like a funeral, which they aren't quite as somber as one would think. I mean, when you go to a funeral, on at least the ones that I'm familiar with, there's laughter. I mean, there's sons telling their stories of their father, and there's laughter. You tell funny stories, even at the what you would consider what people would call the wake. So on Friday night, there was laughter in that longhouse, and throughout the day on Saturday, there was genuine, enjoyment, utilizing, the funeral of our friend as an opportunity to just meet and engage and socialize. It's not as somber an occasion as some people would think. So anyway, all right. Hey, I think we got Jimmy Wolf on the line. So let me go ahead and bring him up here on the. There we go. Jimmy, this is John Kane. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Look, we've been playing your music for a couple of weeks here in the run up to you coming out here. I think it's so important that that Native people understand just how much talent there is in the music industry from Native performers, and of course you have reached a level in of proficiency in playing the blues that's pretty much unparalleled, and so to have the opportunity to not just hear your music as you record more and that kind of thing, but to see you play live is just a real treat. So I know that I'm looking forward to catching up with you and seeing you at the Seneca Niagara Casino this Saturday, and I'm trying to encourage as many people as possible who may be only vaguely familiar with your work, but certainly if you want to see one of the best, then come out and see Jimmy Wolf this Saturday at the Seneca Niagara Casino.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate that.
Now, have you played with Blackfoot before? Is this a new collaboration, or or what's your familiarity with playing with these guys?
Yeah, totally new. I never thought about it or anything. I just, I was just contacted by.
Cool.
I was at casino about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, you played on a night. I was in New York, so I wasn't around for that. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're playing on a Saturday, so I get that chance.
Yeah, it was a Thursday night in February.
Yep, exactly.
No,
I know.
in the middle of
I had some
winter.
friends that went up to see you, so we're looking forward to this. I mean, this is it should be a pretty good event. This is a good time of year to play too. People are out and about, and it's
still able to make the trip.
You can still travel without having to. I mean, sometimes even going to Niagara Falls in February is treacherous. So it should be a good trip. It should be a good trip.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool. So we're doing actually an opening. So we'll be playing like a half an hour.
Sure.
From like 8
Cool.
to 8:30.
Well, that should be great. It should be great. You know, I mentioned in the first half hour, I'm screening the movie Rumble in Long Island this weekend, and and again that film really kind of tries to expose what almost what has been a secret in the industry, which is how many Native people are playing a significant role in not just rock and roll, but in all of the musical genres that have become so synonymous with Native music, and and obviously you've played with some incredible artists along the way. I mean, give us a bit of a rundown on some of the guys that you've played with.
Well, I got to work with. Started out with a guy named Jimmy Dawkins. They called him Jimmy Fast Fingers Dawkins.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. That was his nickname. He didn't like the nickname, but he was kind of stuck with it after they put it on record for him. And he's a person that took a lot of interest in me, and he was telling me he wanted to take me to Europe and this and that. We never did, but I did go on a couple little tours with him, mini tours, around the Northeast and then in the Midwest, a little in Chicago, down in Ohio and stuff like that, Canada. But I started out doing some things with him, and it was encouraging, and it was just, I'm just learning, as I go. As I've been going with him, and I was learning about rhythm, playing rhythm guitar behind artists.
Right.
It's totally different. It's a totally different thing than trying to do your own trio, because you got to get with the vibe and the rhythm and the songs of what they're doing, And so that was a pretty cool experience, and then he turned me on to. At the time, I hooked right after that. I think '86. I hooked up with this guy named Bill Doggett, and I did a tour with him. And right when I was on the road with him, Jimmy Dawkins called me and said this guy named Larry Davis needed a guitar player. So I got a hold of his number, and he was in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like more of the direction I wanted to go into. He was originally a bass player that played with Albert King in the '60s.
Oh yeah.
He played on all those Live at the Fillmore East albums, playing bass. So I said, man, that's right where I want to do. He said he would come down and live at his place and we'd be playing weekly, and down in Little Rock. So I got this saxophone player that I knew up here, and me and him traveled down there and met Larry, and we stayed there for a little while. But things sound better sometimes on the phone than when you get in there in person. Things ain't happening like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
that's just to get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got there, and then after we spent all our money, had no money left. It was a good experience. So, what happened was after that, as I said, we had to regroup. I said, well, let me try to take care of the business. So, basically, after we stayed there for a while, we went back north, and we had him come up here. I just went and did the booking myself. I booked all the shows, and it was hard getting money because nobody knew who he was.
Right.
He's a guy. He wrote Texas Flood, that Steve Ray Vaughan did.
Right.
So that was his kind of he was still collecting royalties from that. And anyway, so we did wrangle up a booking agent out of New York City, and he got us some nice shows, and we went to California and across, and we went into Canada, and we were kind of busy around here too. In New York State, I kept them busy a little bit.
Sure.
So and then we went to Florida and blah blah blah. But, we were busy, but then after a while, Larry moved out to California. He wanted me to come out there. I'm not crazy about California personally wise, and I didn't.
You got really solid roots there in Rome, New York, which is not exactly, not exactly
city.
what people would expect, right?
No. There's a lot of musicians all around this area.
Yeah, that's true.
New York.
Yeah.
Syracuse and stuff, New York. It's kind of like oversaturated with musicians. I mean, there's really a lot of really good musicians here, and a lot of kind of well-known people have come out of this area. But it's not like the best place to get seen. As I always like to tell people, I live in the woods.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody asks me, what's it like up there? And because a lot of people think in New York, they think you're in New York City all the time.
Exactly.
No, this is country up here.
Yeah.
But no, in the past I have lived in Memphis as long as I've lived away from home. I was like 5 years living in Memphis, which I really loved.
Yeah, you'd have to. Especially doing what you do. I mean, that's what Memphis is the place, right?
Yeah, Memphis is a great place, and a lot of the people there were great. It's not like California. California's dog eat dog.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't like that kind of.
It's a little bit more supportive. I mean, musicians helping musicians, not trying to beat them out in Memphis.
Right. They try to help you down in Memphis, and they're.
Well, I know there's almost no place that I can't go. Whether I talk about the Freight Train Parker and and all these guys, and you've managed to weave yourself around all of these guys. In fact, one of the guys who I know was playing drums with you, I ran into him. He was playing with Cornbread up at. In fact, I was talking about my friend who just passed away this past week for his 75th birthday party in June, I think it was. Cornbread was playing, and the guy who was playing drums for him was the guy that I know has played with you before. So, I mean, there's so many people that you've kind of mingled with and played with, almost probably somewhat impromptu, or just grabbing up the guys, the musicians you know at the time were available to do various performances. Who are you coming out with on Saturday?
Well, I'm bringing some guys that I've worked with in the past, but in the last 5 years, everyone's gone and done different projects. So
right.
I'm really glad about getting back together with these guys. The drummer, his name is Emmanuel Washington. He's a guy that he got really busy, and he is real busy with a band called Sophistafunk.
Oh yeah.
They're like a real popular kind of old school. I would call it like an old school rap, but they use an organist.
Oh yeah.
Group. It's a 3-piece group and a saxophone player. They've garnered a lot of attention, and they've played a lot. They've been touring around the country, and they went to UK, and then they did a thing with that. A guy in the Food Network. I always forget the guy's name. Like he's the spiky-haired guy.
Fieri? Guy Fieri?
Yeah, Guy.
Yeah, it's it.
Yeah.
They're on his show doing. They did some. The restaurant that they organist.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Called Funkin' Waffles. They Funkin' Waffles. They got one out. They got one out in Rochester. So he came to their place and. He heard their band, loved their band, and he used them on a private party, and I think he used their song or something like that.
Cool.
For one of their shows, for this shopping show that he had on.
Yeah.
So so he's been busy with that, and he's in another band called Skunk City. And then me and him are doing a Blues Tuesday down there on Funk and Waffles on Tuesday. We did 3 last month, and we're doing 2 this month. And so we got back together doing things, which is great. And the bass player Tommy Carter, he's another Syracuse guy. He played on my last CD with tribute to Little Johnny Taylor.
Yep. That's what I was playing some cuts off of for today's show, as a matter of fact. So yeah.
Yeah. And also the drummer did play with me at the Native American Music Awards.
Oh yeah.
We played up there on the show, and Gil Birmingham. We backed up Gil Birmingham, I think.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So that was cool. He's been around a little bit, around that scene a little bit with us, and he had a great time.
Well, even though it's you're opening for Blackfoot, I'm really looking forward to seeing you perform. I mean, I haven't seen you since you went up to Akwesasne and played for the Uelis Gray event. But so I'm looking forward to. I just don't travel around as much. Even though I get to New York, to do my show, it's like I go there and I come back. So I don't hit any of the areas in between. I'd really love to come out to catch you. I know you're playing in that central New York area. And that's my old stomping ground. So I mean, it'd be cool to get back there. And I guess I just got to make a commitment to doing it, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of takes a little planning.
Yeah.
And I was just up there at Akwesasne. I played it the 25th of August. I played at the casino.
Cool.
And in town in Messina, I played over there at the Del Mar.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Show at the Del Mar too, and. Yeah, I was there a couple times this past year. It's been good.
Oh, it's good. Well, I certainly look forward to seeing you making it out to our neck of the woods, on Saturday, and we'll try to bring a crew out there and be loud for you.
Oh, that'd be awesome. It'd be great to see you.
All right, it'd be good to catch up with you. We'll have to get a chance to to chew the fat a little bit when I catch up with you out there.
Oh yeah, awesome. I appreciate that.
All right, Jimmy Wolf. Again, coming out with your guys for Saturday, November 11th at 8 p.m. at the Bears Den Lounge at the Seneca Niagara Casino. It's a good venue to see somebody perform. If you want to see guys that are just really the cream of the crop. I mean, these guys are as good as anybody in the industry, better than most, and. Again, I don't think you can appreciate the music of Jimmy Wolf if you don't get a chance to watch him play live. So, Jimmy, I look forward to it, and I'm sure others do too. Look forward to seeing you this weekend, and I want to thank you for joining me here on Let's Talk.
Hey, John, thank you very much, and I want to thank you very much for your support too.
Always, man. That's what we need to do. We've got to support what you guys do because. If we don't support the guys who are there, who are actually the gifts to us, then it doesn't give us. We got kids that we want to do this stuff too. I mean, when we have to have you guys encourage the younger guys coming up behind you. So
yeah, we always play your song. Somebody's got to pay when we usually talk about the state or something.
Yeah, every time we're doing battle with the state, we always play Somebody's Got to Pay. I figure it's one of the ways. It's my shot back at them.
Somebody's got to pay, right?
Yeah, somebody's got to pay. Damn it! And it ain't gonna be us.
Thank you for your music.
All right, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Jimmy. Appreciate it. It's good to talk to you. All right.
Talk to you later.
That's Jimmy Wolf, the incomparable Jimmy Wolf. Again, he was inducted into the New York State Hall of Fame, Blues Hall of Fame. I know my friend Cindy was hoping to get down there for that induction, and that's pretty cool. So. I've gotten to be good friends with Jimmy over the years, and I very much appreciate what he does and the talent, just the absolute talent he is. So, again, if you're in the area out here in Western New York and you want to hear some great music, then head up to the Bears Den. The Seneca Niagara Casino is a pretty cool facility. Obviously, I've been talking a lot about Seneca gaming because of the battles with New York State, and it's your opportunity to go there and see that it's not just about gaming. It is about entertainment. It's about bringing Native artists in. That's why I support the Native American Music Association as much as I do. I think the whole idea of providing venues for Native artists who sometimes have a hard time breaking through the industry. This movie Rumble, I think, is an important movie because I think it demonstrates, what maybe people just didn't know. I mean, they don't understand how significant Native influences have been on modern music, and
that's exactly why they should be playing in the casinos. I mean,
right.
I don't know what percentage of casinos across the country even played with.
Yeah, it's almost like that. That's part of one of the missions that I'd like to be a part of doing is really kind of maybe shaming some of the casinos. I'm glad to hear Akwesasne Casino had is bringing guys like Jimmy up there, and they had Logan Stats playing. And Indigenous playing at the casino this past week, and I had every intention of going. I know folks listening to the show know that I intended to go, but obviously I had to go out of town for my friend's funeral. But I'm glad to see at least the casinos that we are around opening up their venues for these Native artists, and I think they could do more. I think it should be something that's I've always said that one of the things about the Seneca gaming facilities in particular, they can actually be that clearinghouse for Native musicians. I mean, do more, promote Native musicians, do more in promoting the events that they perform at. Unfortunately, sometimes you see these venues and people are only attracted to the big names, and they miss a lot of some of the most incredible talent.
That Bears Den at Niagara Falls Casino would be the perfect venue for that. It's not a really huge place; it's an intimate setting, and you could fill that place up and still get a good turnout from.
Yeah, it's got decent seating. All the seats are good. The acoustics are good in there. So again, take my word for it. Head up to Seneca Niagara Casino this Saturday for Jimmy Wolf and Blackfoot. I'm not familiar with Blackfoot's work, so I look forward to seeing that as well.
I got.
Do we? Okay. See, I'm not that familiar with them, but I've obviously been doing a lot to follow. Maybe we can go out with a Blackfoot tune if you can pull one up quickly enough. Hey, look, we are just about out of time. So a couple of things. I am back in New York this week. I haven't been doing my show in New York. I've been doing them out of here on Facebook Live. I will be back in the WBAI studios this Thursday from 10 till noon. I look forward to it. I've been off for almost a month, pretty much a month. Shawnee Rice will be in studio. We'll be taking calls, and of course, we'll be Facebook Live streaming, so you can add your comments. There's a lot to talk about. That's a 2-hour show. There's lots of time to get into some intense conversations between white guys killing people, the debate over whether there should be gun control or whatever else. So there's all of that stuff happening. But in the meantime, this was designated our special month by this president, Donald Trump. In fact, I read some of his statement the other day, declaring in November National Native American Heritage Month. Of course, he could really honor us by stop calling us Native Americans, but that's a whole other issue. But there's so much that this president and all of the presidents, that's why we call them Ranatagayas, town destroyers. These guys have really not done very well by us, and we'll talk about some of that as we open up the show down there in New York this Thursday. All right, we got some Blackfoot?
Yep.
All right, we'll go out with some Blackfoot here. Blackfoot and Jimmy Wolf this weekend up at the Seneca Niagara Casino at the Bears Den Lounge. Look forward to it. Come on out, and we'll catch up. We'll have a good time. All right, some Blackfoot. Yeah.